and welcome to 10-Minute Monday, but on a Tuesday. I am incredibly sorry if you can hear the landscaping going on outside, but sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. This week we are once again in Threshold. This is week 7. We only have one more week to go, guys. And today we are talking about how to become warriors. Yes, how to fight. Are you excited? I am. Let's get to it. This week we are in Exodus 17. We are still with Moses and the Israelites on their journey from Egypt to Canaan. And what we find in verse 8 is that it says, the Amalekites came and attacked the Israelites at Rephidim. Now, the Amalekites, we don't hear about them much right now, but in Deuteronomy 25, verses 17 and 18, it says, remember what the Amalekites did to you along the way when you came out of Egypt. When you were weary and worn out, they met you on your journey and attacked all who were lagging behind. They had no fear of God. So the Amalekites not only attacked the Israelites, but they attacked them from the rear. Who do you think, remember, this is like 1 million people walking from Egypt to Canaan. Who do you think was at the back of the line? Probably the elderly, the women, the children, those that couldn't keep up as well. They were probably at the back. And the Amalekites chose to attack them from the rear. Not because they were afraid of the Israelites, but just because they could. They could take out the weakest. So the Amalekites, not great people, don't really like them. So Moses tells Joshua, choose some of our men and go out to fight the Amalekites. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hands. Whenever Moses tells this to Joshua, remember, again, the Israelites had been in slavery for 400 years. They were not military. They were not warriors. They were workers. And so this group of men that Joshua is choosing is not an elite squad going off to fight the Amalekites. It's men that have just worked every day of their life, and they are going to do the best that they can to protect the women, children, and their families. The other thing that we see here is that Moses says that he's going to go on top of the hill with the staff of God. This is the same staff that was used in Egypt and turned into a snake to warn Pharaoh of the plagues that were coming and to set God's people free. This is the same staff that was used whenever Moses split the Red Sea. It's the same staff that was tapped on a rock and water sprung forth. Whenever the Israelites were off fighting, again, remember, they're not warriors yet. They are just men. But imagine seeing this staff that they know God has wielded to provide for them and to set them free. How do you think they would feel seeing that while they're out on the battlefield? I think it would be encouraging for them to see this staff that they so closely relate to the wonderful works of God. Let's continue with our verses. So Joshua fought the Amalekites as Moses had ordered, and Moses, Aaron, and Hur went to the top of the hill. As long as Moses held up his hands, the Israelites were winning. But whenever he lowered his hands, the Amalekites were winning. When Moses' hands grew tired, they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. Aaron and Hur held his hands up, one on one side, one on the other, so that his hands remained steady until sunset. So Joshua overcame the Amalekite army with the sword. Then the Lord said to Moses, write this on a scroll as something to be remembered, and make sure that Joshua hears it, because I will completely blot out the name of Amalek from under heaven. Moses built an altar and called it, the Lord is my banner. He said, because hands were lifted up against the throne of the Lord will be at war against the Amalekites from generation to generation. The Lord is my banner. It's a little weird, right? We don't really think about banners that much. But what these words mean, it's Yahweh Nisi, and what it means is it's the flag that comes out before the army. It's warning everyone before the actual army comes. This group of people, this military, these warriors are fighting with God on their side. That's really encouraging, right? It's kind of like if you've ever seen the Captain America movies, it's like whenever Steve Rogers goes from being Steve Rogers to Captain America, and then he's sent out before the army to give encouragement and to tell people, guess what? You are warned, the army is coming. They know that it's going to be a fight. The Lord is my banner is a warning to your enemies that the Lord is fighting for you and with you. Now you might be thinking, enemies, I can't really think of any. I mean, like there's the girl that's mean to me at school, and like there's this neighborhood kid that kind of bullies me, or maybe you have an arch enemy. I don't know you really that well, but maybe you do. But all of us as believers have one common enemy. I'll give you 1 second to think of it. That's right? Satan, the devil. We have one enemy, and there's always another team on the field. So today we're going to talk about how we can use these verses to become spiritual warriors, how we can fight that battle against Satan and his minions. Are you ready? Number 1, we have the promise that the Lord is our banner. He goes before us and he is with us through it all. You know, whenever you are struggling with something, whenever you feel like there's a spiritual attack, that God is with you and that he is your banner. He has ridden out before you. He has claimed you. He knows, Satan knows, that you are God's child. And you can take confidence in that. Number 2, we have to physically battle. So, Joshua took men and physically went out and battled the army of the Amalekites. For us, what that looks like is maybe we know that there are some areas in our life that we're struggling with, maybe that we have a little bit of sin, maybe things that God's highlighted for us, that he's inviting us into a deeper relationship with him, and maybe there are some things that we need to cut out, some physical things. Maybe you know you spend too much time on your phone, okay? Maybe it's as simple as that, and you know that the Lord's inviting you to kind of put that down more and build relationship with other people, or just to do something else, maybe a puzzle or color or build something, I don't know. Go outside if it's nice, but maybe the Lord's inviting you into something else and asking you to put down your phone. So what that would look like is setting parameters on your phone that it goes to sleep at a certain time, so that way you can't get to any of your apps. You can't really do anything on your phone after a certain time. Or maybe it's inviting your parents in to help set those boundaries. Or maybe it's inviting your friends in, especially other believers, and saying like, hey, I really find this to be a distraction from my relationship with the Lord, and I'd like to get better. Now, maybe your distraction is not your phone, maybe it's video games, or maybe it's a book. I don't know. For me, it was always reading growing up. I would get lost and kind of not manage my time well. And so sometimes for me, that can be a distraction from what the Lord's inviting me into. So find ways to physically battle. Set yourself up for success, right? Find ways in which the Lord is inviting you, and make those changes physically, like tangibly. Number 3. We have to spiritually battle. And what does that mean? Well, it means that we have to pray. The Israelites didn't just win fighting on the battlefield. They won also because Moses was up on the hill, continually lifting them up in prayer. His hands being raised in the air was a posture of prayer. Prayer is sometimes really sweet and easy, and we have continual conversation with the Lord. And sometimes it's really difficult and hard. So Paul in Colossians gives us 2 words of encouragement. In verse 2, he says, devote yourselves to prayer, being watchful and thankful. And in verse 12, he talks about continually praying for each other. It actually says, always wrestle in prayer for each other, that you may stand firm in all the will of God, mature and fully assured. Point number 4, we need to have a community of support. Moses wasn't up on the hill by himself, lifting his hands. He was not able to do that, lifting the staff of God, so they had encouragement. They knew that God was with them. He had Aaron and Hur with him. And Aaron and Hur helped support him by, whenever he got tired, placing a rock underneath him for him to sit. By standing on either side of him and lifting his hands. They were standing on either side like this, holding up his hands, so that way he would not grow weary, so that way the posture of prayer would be continued. So that way the act of submission towards the Lord was done in this community of faith. And that is what we are called to as well. To become spiritual warriors, we need to have a community of support. If you have not invited anyone in to pray for you, to support you in the things that you feel like God is calling you and inviting you deeper into, I encourage you to do that today. Find yourself an Aaron, find yourself a Hur, find someone that can not only continually pray with you, but will come alongside you and provide the physical things that you need to continue to go deeper in your relationship with the Lord. Thank you so much for joining me for 10 Minute Tuesday. Here's to hoping that we get out 10 Minute Monday next Monday. It is the last in our Threshold series next week. I am so excited to share it with you and to wrap up this series. I hope that you're enjoying this. If you could, please leave a like or a comment down below. We'd love to hear from you about how this series is helping you in your walk with God. Or if you have any questions, put those down below too. I'm always looking at the comments and would love to hear from you. Until next week, thanks. Bye.